Deluxe Edition Network, also known as The Den, is an incredible podcast network that offers a wide variety of entertaining and informative podcasts.
With a lineup of shows covering various topics, such as interviews with a wide variety of guests, history, music, relationships, true crime, and so much more. The Den provides content that caters to a diverse range of interests.
The hosts and guests on the Deluxe Edition Network demonstrate a deep passion and expertise in their respective fields, making each episode on each show engaging and thought-provoking.
The network fosters a sense of community by encouraging listeners to interact through live chats, social media, and forums, creating an inclusive environment for discussion and sharing opinions.
With its commitment to high-quality production, the shows in the Deluxe Edition Network continue to captivate and entertain its ever-growing audience.
Whether you're a podcast enthusiast or someone looking to explore new topics, The Den is a fantastic platform to dive into and uncover fascinating insights from experts in their fields.
The Deluxe Edition Network is the home of independent awesomeness.
To find all these great podcasts in one convenient location, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Films and Fermentation. This is episode 153. This episode's called Where's the Sequel? That's right. We're a Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
We're just three friends who like to talk shit about movies while getting shit-faced. In this episode, we're diving into films that we think deserve a sequel. We'll explore the cinematic gems that left us yearning for more, dissect why their stories warrant continuation, and speculate on the potential directions their sequels could take. So grab your favorite libation, settle in, and join us as we toast to the movies that left us wanting a second serving. And I did not use ChatGPT this time. I wrote that myself. I wanted to prove I could still do it on my own. So, don't forget to drop us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links, including our new account on Reddit. If you go to r/filmsferment, you can join our Reddit discussions. Become part of the Films and Fermentation family by going to Patreon to support us or buying our merchandise at teespring.com. Remember, we're part of the Deluxe Edition Network, The Den, at deluxeeditionnetwork.com. Coming up soon, the Denny Awards. The second annual Denny Awards will be held in September. This year, the award nominees include all three of us. Michael, Kevin, and I are all nominated for Best Male Voice on the Den Network. That's right! And one of us has been deservingly nominated as Podcaster of the Year.
No modesty in that promo.
I'm humbled by the nomination. Yes, I have been nominated for Podcaster of the Year. Voting begins on July 1st. Listeners will be able to vote as well as the members of the network. Information will follow once I have more. There's going to be a website that I'll be able to give out that people can go to vote. Once again, that starts on July 1st. In the meantime, go to the deluxeeditionnetwork.com to check out the podcasts of the month for June, Barrel Age Chicks and the Barstool Film School.
Hey, this is Sammy from Barrel Age Chicks, and I'm here with Yen.
Hey, everybody.
How you doing, Yen?
I'm feeling amazing.
Yes, you are. Well, what we're here to do today is talk about where you can find Barrel Age Chicks. You can find us on Google Podcasts,
Apple Podcasts,
Spotify,
Anchor,
and Good Pods.
Yep.
On the Barrel Age Chicks, we have myself, Sammy. We have
Yen,
of course. And then we have Snow, Crystal, and Harley.
Yep.
We enjoy talking about everything from movies to being current moms to being just the ladies of the Barrel Age Flicks boys and their shenanigans in general.
Please join us without kids. Thank you.
Yes, our podcast is explicit content, so it is definitely not for little ears, but come out, let your hair down to hear the chick side of things.
Whoop, whoop.
It's a shit show.
Please join us. We need some mom time.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Dylan.
And I'm Cameron.
And we're the hosts of Barstool Film School, a conversational comedy podcast about the very best Mar movies. You know, the ones that are like perfect to watch when you're hanging out in a bar with friends. Now, I'm a writer and a film school washout.
And I'm a bar owner.
So we ought to know what we're talking about.
You would hope.
Tune in every other week, wherever you get your pods, as we take on a new flick.
And we will pair those flicks with some cocktails.
To see if they pass the bar. Now, what do you say, Cam? Shall we pour ourselves another round?
Let's do it.
All right.
Speaking of drinks, what are we drinking tonight, my friends? Kevin, why don't you go first?
Sure. In my Left Nut Brewing cup, thanks to my good pal Mike, I am enjoying the equivalent of a 7 and 7 with neither 7 nor 7. Mm-hmm. This is a Jameson and Sprite. So I'm out of beer, and I have yet to pick any up.
That's
what?
First of
out of beer.
Out of beer.
Cocktail. Sorry, when I told you I was at the luncheon for the teachers on Friday, and I went to the bartender and I said, "Can I get a 7 and 7?" And she went, "I don't have any Seagram 7 or 7 Up." And I looked behind the bar and I went, "VO and ginger ale will do. Just hit me with that." So that was my 7 and 7. So, Mike, what are you drinking?
I am drinking one of my Devil's Backbones summer lagers. The first time I've had this, it is 5.3 alcohol by volume. Not bad. Not as summery as I thought it would be, but it's good. Leo?
So, I am also drinking a Devil's Backbone Summer Lager, thanks to my friend Mike. And I actually like it. Yeah, I agree with you. It's not very summery, but it does have a good lager flavor to it.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of like Sam, maybe a little bit, Sam Adams, something like that. It's pretty good though. But since tonight is all about sequels, once I finish this can, which I'm actually pretty close to finishing, as a sequel, I have another can of Devil's Backbone Summer Lager. So I will be doubling up on that tonight because I'm enjoying it so far. Mike, anything special happen this week?
This week in film history.
Should I take the first one since I wrote it?
Yes.
Marvel Studios and Disney Plus have announced a rebranding of the MCU. Programs will now fall under Marvel Studios for film, Marvel Television for the MCU series, and the Marvel Animation Studios. This is an attempt to relieve the pressure of having to watch everything in order to stay in the loop. So that's been like the biggest complaint with MCU in the last like couple of years is there's so much content and people feel like they have to watch everything in order to understand what's going on. And I've found myself, you don't have to watch everything. I still haven't seen the Thor films and I'm pretty up to date on what's going on in the MCU. So
it's a shame. Ragnarok's very funny. You didn't.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry. I lied. I have seen Ragnarok and I have seen Love and Thunder.
Oh.
I didn't see the original Thor and I didn't see Thor Dark World.
Then how did you know who Natalie Portman was?
I remembered her as Padme.
That's right.
Well, I didn't hate the original Thor. Dark World left me.
Yeah, I think that's what most people's opinion of it is. And a lot of the list I see have that listed as like the worst one. So, but anyway, yeah. So they're doing this rebranding as a way of trying to tell people, hey, listen, you can watch whatever you want to watch. You don't have to watch it all. I think they're also trying to right the ship a little bit because they've had a lot of problems with a lot of the IP that they purchased over the years. Like The Acolyte. Have either of you watched that yet?
I've watched the first episode and fell asleep during the second because I was so tired after this last week.
Kevin, what did you think?
I thought it was good. It is not your average Star Wars story. It's a complete break from the Skywalker saga, and I'm okay with that. I like a little, where what came before.
I'm
So I'm good
okay
with
with it too, but there's so many dumb decisions that the characters make in the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
Wait. Let's go to the first episode. How come Carrie Ann Moss less time than anybody else in a freaking series?
She gets killed in the first 10 minutes, spoilers, of the episode. Now, here's what pissed me off about her death. Not that they killed her off. I thought that was a really interesting swerve because you thought she was going to be a big part of the series, So it wasn't that. What pissed me off is that she got killed with a little tiny dagger to the heart when Sabine got stabbed with a lightsaber in her series and nothing happened. How is the lightsaber less damaging than a tiny dagger?
Because the lightsaber cauterizes and the dagger doesn't.
Qui-Gon got a lightsaber.
That went all the way through, though. I mean, that's.
I feel like a lightsaber should be way more deadly than a dagger. That's just one of the many problems I have.
It depends upon where the dagger hits and where the lightsaber hits.
Anybody else have a problem with I don't know if this is the second episode or not, but it was the floating Jedi guy who looked like a discount Doogie Howser.
That was the second episode.
I saw that. Well, he was just sitting there meditating and blocking everything with his mind.
I get that, but I'm like, for a fucking TV show about like a Star Wars series, you'd think they have more money in the budget to create a better fake beard for that dude. I've never seen a person look simultaneously baby-faced and old at the same time. It was just really off-putting.
The one thing I'm curious about is this was 100 years before the Empire, right?
It's 100 years before Phantom Menace, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So where the fuck is Yoda?
Yeah, right.
When 900 years you become look as good, you will not.
Yeah, like Yoda should be there at some point. The only thing what will redeem it for me is if the main villain turns out to be a really good main villain.
Mm-hmm.
So like they give you that little tease of the villain at the end. Oh, that's another thing. At the end of that episode, you get introduced to whoever this mysterious Sith guy is.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, "Steel is no harm to Jedi." Fucking Carrie Ann Moss got killed with a dagger at the beginning of the episode.
Well,
Check
she was looking for Neo.
That was in the first episode, yeah. Well, I did like Carrie Ann Moss was doing her best
Matrix moves.
Not Matrix, but what's his name? Morpheus. Act when she was doing the play. She was doing her best Morpheus.
I did like some of the fighting, like the Asian actor who plays Soul, the main Jedi Master, is from Squid Game on Netflix. That was a really good show. He's a pretty good actor, and I like him so far. And his fight scene that was very well choreographed. I thought where he had to sort of martial arts type fight scene with the main antagonist, but he wasn't throwing punches. He was just defending the whole time. That was a pretty good fight scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we'll see. It still has potential, so hopefully it lives up to it. What's your second one there, Mike?
In 1983, Octopussy, the 13th James Bond film starring Roger Moore, Maud Adams, and Louis Jordan, premieres in London.
The most fun
best
title.
name of a James Bond.
I was going to say the most fun title.
The best James Bond title ever.
It's like the only way. How do you get away with that? 1983. We're calling it Octopussy. It's such a oh my god, yeah. Is that's the Pussy Galore one, right?
That's one with Pussy Galore.
And then your last back there, Mike.
In 2002, The Bourne Identity, directed by Doug Liman and starring Matt Damon, premieres in Los Angeles, California.
So I've only seen The Bourne Identity. I've not seen any of the other ones.
I think I've seen The Bourne Identity and The Bourne Supremacy. I may have seen The Bourne Ultimatum. I could be wrong.
Yeah, like they kind of blend together after a while.
Mhm.
But I remember liking The Bourne Identity. But the thing that stands out to me the most is a one-off joke from 40-Year-Old Virgin. Paul Rudd is watching The Bourne Identity on the TV inside the electric store that they work at.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, man, I used to think Matt Damon was like a motherfucking Barbara Streisand, but he's kicking ass in this film. So I'm going to play the theme song now because I feel it fits a little bit more with Mike's segment than Kevin's segment lately. So
Screw you! I had two
Depends,
good
man.
stories.
You have good news tonight?
Forget that. No, I got nothing. I hope you're happy.
I forgot to ask you before the show again.
Well, I guess you don't have to worry about it because I'm selling them. Jeez.
I'm sorry, Kev. I'll hug you when I see you, bud.
Well, if Kevin doesn't do his stories, he can't get his voice out there to get voted on. So that's
Yeah,
go play your song for Michael. All hail, Michael. Play your song.
Mike, do you have any beer or craft destination information for us this evening?
I do.
Just so happens I have a beer destination. Go ahead, go. Do your spiel. Go for it.
In Wyoming.
Is it in
Mine's
Jackson
closer.
Hole?
It is Jackson Hole.
It's the only city I know in Wyoming.
Actually, it's not in Jackson Hole. It's Melvin Brewing Company in Alpine. But Jeremy Toft started brewing beer in 2009 at a Jackson Hole Thai restaurant. And soon that tiny 20-gallon system expanded to a 3-barrel. Then over the next 2 years, Melvin Brewing made history as the third fastest growing brewery. They opened their Alpine location in 2015 and have continued to have rampant following far beyond the borders of Wyoming.
When I think of Thai restaurants, I think of Jackson Hole.
Yep. They have fantastic. The beer is fantastic. The brewery is surrounded by the state's natural beauty, including the Snake River, and the tasting room allows you to access the entire facility. There are picnic tables for visitors on the patio, and you can order food with your beer. They also welcome campers into the adjacent Bureau of Land Management land. So plan a visit to the great outdoors of Wyoming.
Wyoming, known for its pad thai.
Well, it's known for its beer with its pad thai.
All right.
Beer is good. Beer is good. Beer is good. And soft. Beer is good. Beer is good. Beer is good. Let's go drink some beer.
Yeah, we having a good
Funny you should mention that, Lee. Yes, I do. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this new trend that's popping up. They're called beer spas. Beer spas have recently opened in Iceland, Spain, and in the U.S., but they take their cues from an older tradition in the country with a long history as a beer bastion, the Czech Republic. The stained glass image of one of the greatest scientists in history, 16th century Danish astronomer Tycho Brahe. Yeah, Brahe. Looked down on me as I prepared to jump into a gigantic 1,000-liter water-filled oak tub. Assisting me was Nikola Skypalova, who was holding big wooden ladles brimming with key elements to add to the water. It included hops. It relieves stress from your body and also opens up your pores. And this is brewer's yeast, which has a lot of vitamin B and makes you look younger. This was at a Chateau Spa Beerland in the Czech Republic. Excuse me as I open some other window. Gave birth to the idiosyncratic modern wellness trend in the 1980s. It's got a elegant chandeliered National Heritage building named, oh, forget that. I'm not pronouncing it. Anyway, it's in Prague. Today, a beer spa that offers eye-catching decorative touches ranging from stained glass windows to astronomical murals. So essentially, you're brewing yourself in beer, and the elements of beer are there to help you relax and to help your body. So it's like it's got hoppy aromas, and it's supposed to play relaxing music and boost your mood. It's got yeast that they include, which tingle your bits. There's one in Belgium called the Bath and Barley, which seems pretty interesting. You can compose your own bath brew by selecting different hops harvested by Belgian farmers. The hops have different essences and beneficial effects are similar. So, I don't know. This kind of sounds cool. I would give it a go.
Didn't we talk about something similar to this before? Like bathing?
No,
in
that
beer?
was when they poured the beer in the river and killed all the fish.
Yeah.
No. That was something. No. I remember something about like hot tub beer or something. Something familiar.
I think maybe we were trying to we were hypothesizing it ourselves or something. Maybe I don't know.
The Czech Republic came up at one point with it. It sounds familiar.
I want to know if I could just fill up my tub at home.
Well, interesting you should mention that because there's a company. Oh my God. Okay, let's try this. Manufactura, which
Watch your language.
I know. Which actually sells beer cosmetics like beer balm, beer shower gel. So yes, you can take this home with you. Beer-based cosmetics. If you'd like, Leo, I can send you the link.
I'm already washing with bourbon infused soap. I guess it doesn't matter if I do the beer one.
Don't you wash with beer soap too? I mean,
Evan has the bourbon soap, right?
That's right. I got the bourbon soap, and I come out of the shower highly intoxicated.
Man, all I got is the beer soap. Man.
Anyway,
no, I was just thinking of filling my tub up with like a keg and then like just heating it a little bit and popping inside. And
do you need the tub that has the jets though? So that's really.
I can just fart in it a couple times.
Carbonate the spa.
Just farting it a couple times, tickle my own bits.
Hey! We don't want to hear about you tickling your bits in the bath.
All right. My next story. If you're looking for a destination, a family-friendly yet beer-covered destination.
I'm glad we're following the tickled bits with the family-friendly. Go for it.
Look no further than Hangdog Brewing Company and Outdoor Adventure in Easton, Pennsylvania. It's a short drive from New Jersey. It's right off of Route 78. The adventure course here is next level, featuring the largest high ropes course on the East Coast. Kids can enjoy the thrill while parents kick back with some tasty brews and delicious eats at the on-site brewery. The course lights up at night for a magical experience, plus live music that's for the perfect closed on me. Perfect vibe. Don't forget to try the pizza, chicken, and fries. They are all made fresh. Best part is the convenience. The kids get to play and break limbs while you get to enjoy brews and sit by a fire pit. Yeah.
Kids get to break limbs. That sounds like
Anyway, that's Hangdog Adventures, Hangdog Brewing in Easton, Pennsylvania. That's something I'd check out.
That's a road trip. It's an hour and 45 minutes from here.
Yeah, I mean, it says it's close to Jersey. I'm like, depends upon what part of Jersey you're living in.
From where I am, it's an hour and 45 minutes. From where Kev is, it's probably like a little closer.
An hour and 44 minutes.
It's about an hour for me to get up to Easton.
I was going to say, it's probably closer to you.
Yeah, but the way it would take me was River Road, and you'd be like this across the river the whole way. Believe me, I go up there.
Yeah. I got a fly in my room that won't leave me alone.
Oh, there's one in here too. Is it the same one?
I am flyless.
I bought a Venus flytrap. It isn't doing its job. All right. We'll be. we're all here. Hey, we'll be right back after these quick words from Coffee Brothers.
After these messages, we'll be
We'll
right
back.
I love a good beer, but right now I could use a good cup of coffee.
Have you heard about Coffee Brothers?
Oh yeah, they're that coffee company out of New York, right?
Well, they're more like a coffee wizards of New York City. They source these amazing seasonal blends and single origin coffees. It's like a flavor adventure in every cup. And get this, they roast everything in small batches. None of that mass-produced stuff. It's like each bean gets the VIB treatment.
VIB?
Very important bean.
Sounds fancy, but is it worth it?
Definitely. Plus, they're a two-person team. I mean, that's dedication right there. Two brothers, one mission to caffeinate the world. And right now, you can save 10% on your order. I mean, who doesn't love a good discount?
All right, you've convinced me. Let's get some Coffee Brothers now.
Coffee Brothers, where every cup is a sip of perfection. Save 10% on your next order with the code FNF10. That's FNF10. Cheers to great coffee. And we are back. All right. So our main segment this evening is films that deserve a sequel. So this is a list of movies that, in our opinion, we wish we got a second round of. Some of these are comedies, some are dramas, but they are all movies that we loved so much the first time around. We really wish we could have gotten a little bit more. There are some movies on this list that may have a sequel in the works. You know, I don't know for certain. But, you know, we'll talk about that when we get to it. So each of us has a list. We're going to go a little round robin with this and talk about why we like the film, why we think it deserves a sequel, and if they ever got a sequel, what we hope they would do with it. So first one on my list is one that I'm constantly telling people to watch because I think it's a fucking awesome movie and it ends in a way that really would have worked with a sequel. It's called The Nice Guys. So this movie came out a few years ago. It stars Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling, and they play two private detectives who have to team up to help solve a murder. It's a dark comedy. It's written by Shane Black, who wrote Predator. He's known for these like wild, off the hinge scripts, and it's a good murder mystery film, but it's also really funny in all the right ways. Because they're both kind of bumbling, even though they're both private detectives. Ryan Gosling, especially, is so fucking funny in this movie. They're helped out by his daughter in the film, who's smarter than the two of them, and has some, cool faces up in it. Like Keith David plays one of the villains. There's a blink and you miss it cameo from Robert Downey Jr. as a dead body. And it's just a really, really funny movie, and it sets up for these guys to be kind of become partners in later films, you know, as private detectives, and it ends in a way that's like really funny and satisfying, and then never got a sequel, or it's probably not going to get a sequel because with a lot of these films, it didn't do the money in the box office that the studio had hoped it would. And it's a shame because I think it's a really good movie, and at this point, it's starting to become kind of a cult film. Because when I mention it online to like other people, I hear a lot of the same thing. Like, yeah, I really wish we could get a sequel to this film. I love this movie, etc. So that is The Nice Guys, starring Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe. I know neither one of you have seen this.
No, I have not. I've seen the previews for it. I've seen it out there. It's on my list to watch.
I highly recommend it. I highly recommend it. Yeah, it takes place in the 1970s, and it revolves a murder case involving a porn star. So that's where a lot of like the comedy portion of it comes from. Ryan Gosling is an alcoholic, and that's part of his problem in the film. And it's really, it's very entertaining. I highly recommend it if you get a chance to see it. I will always be promoting that film because I think it's one that deserves a little more attention.
I thought this movie had Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg.
You're thinking of The Other Guys.
Yes, the other guys now.
This is the nice guys.
Oh, okay.
The other guys, which should not get a sequel because I did not like that film very much, other than the scene where Samuel Jackson and The Rock killed themselves because of stupidity.
I thought the movie was okay. It doesn't deserve a sequel, but I get where it was going with it.
The two funniest jokes in the film are The Rock and Sam Jackson dying because they thought they could jump off a building and be fine,
Mm-hmm.
and Will Ferrell thinking his wife is a beast and his wife is Eva Mendes.
I thought the funniest part was Michael Keaton having a side job. He's the chief of police, but he's got a side job at Bed Bath & Beyond.
And he's the chief of police. Mike, what's your first one on the list? I'm not going to disagree with this one.
My first one is one of Leo's favorite movies of all time, They Live, starring Roddy Piper.
Go for it.
I think where they could go from this is, they ended that everybody sees the alien.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's time to get rid of the aliens. So it's more of a how to get
Mm-hmm.
you get the guerrilla groups or whatever you want to call it and take out the aliens, get them off the planet.
How to Train Your Alien.
And you would have to get another wrestling star because Rowdy's dead, of course, in this movie.
Well, I said I thought about putting it on my list at first because I do love They Live and I love John Carpenter films, but I didn't ultimately because the main character gets killed at the end, but he succeeds in death. That's kind of how it ends.
So you have to get another wrestling star to go in as the next character to start the revolution. Not Hulk Hogan, please not.
Zeus.
The Undertaker.
Shawn Michaels.
You need somebody who's like Roddy Piper, where he's jacked but still looks kind of like a regular dude.
Stone Cold.
Macho Man. He's got his acting chops.
Macho Man. I'm here to fuck up some aliens. Oh yeah, they're here for a cup
They can make it now. They can make it now. I'm making it with the A-list or the Miz.
I'm making it with the Miz now. Nah.
Yeah.
They live.
But they could have gone that way with it, get rid of the aliens.
But the reason they need a wrestler in the sequel is because you need another 6-minute long fight scene.
Exactly.
That involves suplexes and body slams. with the alien.
Yeah, with an alien.
Keith David with an alien.
Yes. With an alien, yes.
It's the second movie in a row with Keith David in it.
Hey, don't mess with Keith David.
Looking at Kevin's list, it's not going to be 3 movies in a row, though.
No.
Go ahead, Kev. What's your first one?
All right. I'm sure to everybody's chagrin, I actually put down Man of Steel, the Henry Cavill Superman movie. I didn't like that they went straight from Man of Steel into the Batman v Superman and Justice League. I can't stand Ben Affleck as Batman. And I just think it just like most of DC movies, they had no direction. They had no idea as to what they were doing. But this had Jonathan Nolan as a writer attached to it. And honestly, I like it. The movie was okay. I think the sequel would have been better. I think if they had chosen a villain that wasn't already done to death in the Superman universe, like Brainiac, or another Superman villain, I would like to see some new life brought into it. I'm hoping that's what we're going to get from Superman Legacy from James. Or I'm sorry, I think it's just called The Superman now. I think they dropped the Legacy part.
I looked this up.
The problem I had with the Man of Steel, it was too dark for Superman. It was really dark for a Superman movie.
Right, and I saw a podcast recently where they compared the Christopher Reeve Superman movie to the Zack Snyder Superman movie, and I agree. It was way too dark. He should never have done what he did at the end of the movie. There should have been an alternate way of dealing with that conflict. But I liked Henry Cavill's portrayal.
Oh yeah,
Not so much on Amy Adams, but I did like Henry Cavill's portrayal, and Diane Lane can do no wrong. But I would have liked. I yearn for a better Superman villain. You know, Lex Luthor doesn't really has never really come off as a good villain in the movies.
I disagree. I think Gene Hackman was a fun Lex Luthor.
Gene Hackman was fun, but campy. You know,
Yeah,
and
was.
Jesse Eisenberg was just a joke.
That was,
you know, but like something new. The closest he had to different ones was Superman 3 with their version of Bizarro Superman, which wasn't even Bizarro. It was just, dark. And that extremely weird metallic woman that might have been, a version of Brainiac, but not really,
I was gonna say, I don't think they've ever had Brainiac in a
No, but he's such a character that could be utilized so well.
Yeah, he's Brainiac. You could use Mr. Mixelplex.
You could use Lobo. You got Jason Momoa. Just throw him in there as Lobo.
He's already Aquaman now.
He's already Aquaman. He can't be Lobo. They can bring Roman Reigns in to be Lobo or something.
It was gonna be weird. This is an offshoot, but it goes back to the MCU. Would it be weird when they do like the multiverse movie where the Fantastic Four meets the other Fantastic Four meets the Avengers, and Chris Evans is both Human Torch and Captain America?
Yes, that would be great.
That would be great.
So I looked up. What's that?
They could have a large mechanized spider. That would be good for Man of Steel too.
You didn't see the Flash, did you?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
It was the Nick Cage.
Yes,
Superman,
I did.
And he was fighting a fucking spider.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Smith shit his pants when he saw that.
What is this? Wild Wild West?
Yeah. So I looked up Man of Steel because I was trying to remember if Zack Snyder directed this too, and he did. And you could tell it's got his kind of style to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with Mike. I didn't think it had to be as dark as it was. You could have made it dark, but it didn't have to be fucking gritty,
Right.
And my dad and I saw this in the theater, and he and I were left going, Superman saved the world by destroying half of it.
Well, that was the other Zack Snyder stable, is that it's over the top destruction,
Yeah.
But
Like
then
a Michael
again,
Bay
you look
movie.
at Richard Donner's Superman 1. He literally destroys
Flying around the world.
California,
Yeah, but nobody cares about California.
No, but nobody cared in 1976 when he flew backwards to turn back time.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you'd have Neil deGrasse Tyson coming out and saying, well, the tidal waves that would have caused would have destroyed the Earth even more. Man of Steel. So I like Henry Cavill, and I agree with you. It might have been better if we got more character build up about the other characters before going right into a Justice League film.
Yes.
But at the time, DC was playing catch up to Marvel.
Yeah.
I mean, Marvel did it right.
They can't play catch up. You got to do your own thing.
Well, that's the
Do it
thing.
right.
And Warner Brothers was too impatient.
Yes.
Like they didn't want to wait to build it like Marvel did. Marvel did it the right way.
Yep.
All right, my second film is a 1980s classic. I got another detective film on my list. It's Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is one of my favorite movies when I was a kid, and I could still watch it nowadays, and it still kind of lives up because Bob Hoskins fucking rules in that movie.
Yep.
The fact that he was able to act like he had a cartoon rabbit with him the whole time and make it believable was amazing. What's his name as Judge Doom?
Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah, Chris Lloyd as Judge Doom. Fucking horrifying. I still feel bad for that little shoe when he puts it in the dip.
Yes. Talk about a children's movie that scars you.
I was going to say, we went to the theater thinking it was a children's film and left going, holy shit, that was not a children's film. I pretty much had my sexual awakening at 10 years old when seeing Jessica Rabbit on screen.
That shoe ranks right up there with Atreyu.
Yeah.
She's not bad. She's just drawn that way.
Yeah, she's just drawn that way. No, yeah, right. Yeah, the shoes like our tracks in Never Ending Story. Our tracks, no. But fucking Who Framed Roger Rabbit is still an awesome movie, and I feel like it's a movie that could have had a sequel because I would have liked to have seen a detective story where Bob Hoskins' character and Roger had to team up again but solve a murder in Toonland.
Oh, that would have been good.
You know, because you could have got a little bit more about what that was all about instead of like that brief, like 20-minute segment that you get in the film.
But not Roger being framed against somebody else.
No,
it would be like another murder, but Roger, you know, but Bob Hoskins, which is Eddie, I think is his character's name. Eddie
Valiant.
Valiant. Yeah. Eddie Valiant needs Roger's assistance or something. It could be like maybe it could be like Who Framed Jessica Rabbit? Like maybe she's framed for the murder or something like that, you know.
It'd be the lethal weapon of the cartoon world.
Who Framed Mickey Mouse?
Who Framed Baby? Oh, what was his name? Baby Herman.
Baby Herman, yep.
Problem is, I got the libido of a 60-year-old man and the thinking of a 3-year-old. Yeah, I could have.
You relate to that part right now, don't you, Lee?
What's that?
You relate to that now, don't you, Lee?
What, the 3-year-old dinky?
Yeah.
No, dude, seriously. I'm Italian. They disown you if you got a 3-year-old dinky. Moving on. Second film on Mike's list. Go ahead, dude.
I put out, excuse me. I was thinking Maverick with Maverick with James Gardner and
Mel Gibson.
My thought of this movie sequel would be they going after Jodie Foster for the money she took at the end of the movie. So it's that the story continues of them going after her to get the money back.
So it'd be like a direct sequel, like a next day kind of sequel.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think we talked a little bit about Maverick already because we did that on our gambling episode.
Yes.
It's a movie all three of us enjoy.
And I thought it could have done good. I don't know why they wouldn't do it. Maybe they couldn't get the stars to do it. Or
you could have Jodie Foster pregnant with Maverick's child.
On the run.
And then you'd have all 3 generations of Maverick.
It's curious because the movie did well. It was a box office hit.
Yeah.
It wasn't like my first film, which I said didn't do very well.
And they could have the same villain coming after them, pissed off because he lost the game and stuff.
Alfred Molina.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean it's a movie like you said though. Maybe they couldn't get all the stars again because it was amazing that they got those people in that film in the first place, especially like
right.
Foster and Mel Gibson and all. I think this is right before Mel Gibson won the Oscar for Best Director for Braveheart, or maybe right after or something. So he was already big in his britches at that point.
Well, he had all the lethal weapons, so he was getting pretty britches.
Not to mention, it was right around the turn of the century when he went all anti-Semitic on the industry too. So, but I would enjoy a second Maverick. Would have called it Maverick.
Maverick pair of aces.
Yeah, or like Deal Him Again or something like that. Hit me.
Search for more money. Oh.
No, you're getting ahead of Kevin's list. You're
getting ahead.
So, Kev, what's your second one?
My second one is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. You get this whole buildup as to what they saw, where they saw, what's the message that was sent, Yeah. Little spoiler for anyone who hasn't seen it.
If you haven't seen it, you're wrong.
Yeah. It is come on. Kev. I want to call him Hooper. Yes, Richard Dreyfuss is the only one of the crew members and actually he was a last minute addition of the crew members that they had set aside to possibly be exchanged during this meet with this alien life form. And he gets into the ship and they take off and you just kind of want to know what happened from that point. You know, the sequel could be he comes back and what he's learned, or does he remember, or, you know,
Or
the
maybe
whole
you
project was scrubbed and nobody knows about it because it was so secret, you know, but he's back and he's got the information that he can't get out of his head. Terry
maybe
Garr's back.
you can see some of the alien world that he gets to visit.
Yeah.
What their life
Yeah.
is like. Maybe you can see the psychological damage that's done to his wife and child when he leaves them behind.
Mhm. When he comes back and how horrible the family's doing.
It's 20 years later.
Oh, they come back and they take all the probes out of him. Oh, sorry.
Or they come back and the Earth's already gone. You know, they were gone so long, he didn't, you know, the Earth's destroyed or something.
Yeah.
Because then that'll be a sequel to one of my films. Yeah, that's close to. We haven't talked about that one in a while because I think we talked about it when we did the Spielberg episode, and that was a while ago.
Yeah.
So my third one on the list comes from my personal vendetta against Fox and their insistence on canceling great series. So my third film is Serenity, not the horrible film starring Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway, but the amazing film starring Nathan Fillion. You're looking at so Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway were in a film called Serenity, where you find out
that was John Cusack and Kate Beckinsale.
No, that's Serendipity.
Oh,
Serenity was a film McConaughey and Hathaway where you find out halfway through the film that they're actually characters in a video game.
Oh,
and it is terrible. My Serenity is the Joss Whedon Firefly TV series, the film based on that. The film that fans got made because they demanded a film to continue the stories of the crew of the Firefly class ship, the Serenity.
At least to close the story out.
Yeah, kind of closed the story out a little bit. It pisses me off because the story had so much further it could have went. Especially when you hear like the cast get together and they talk about future storylines that they were planning for season 2. So yeah, it's my once a year ritual to rewatch the 13 episodes that exist and then rewatch Serenity and then get pissed off all over again.
Yes.
So if I couldn't got a second season of Firefly, I would have liked to have at least gotten a sequel to Serenity, because in the comic books you find out that Zoe was pregnant with Wash's kid.
Yes.
And he didn't know about it before he gets killed in Serenity. So she would have been, it would have been like an interesting storyline to follow. So, oh well.
The child would have been named Dry.
No.
Dry Washburn.
She will be Wind.
Wind.
Or Leaf on the Wind.
Leaf. His name would be Leaf. Leaf Washburn. I'm a leaf on the wind. See how I saw. Mike.
There was a story that he signed the autograph that way, and the woman started crying.
I would believe it because fans are crazy.
Yeah.
Mike's third one pissed me off because I didn't think of it myself.
Leon the Professional. Call it The Professional 2 and follow Natalie Portman as a hit woman.
So I kind of like that idea Mike came up with, is that in this one, Natalie Portman is older and she's taking the lessons she learned from Leon to become a professional herself.
Yep.
That could work.
The only thing is we need a villain as batshit crazy as Gary Oldman was.
Well, at this point, if they did it now, they could get, I can't think of his name.
We're all
Jack Sparrow. Jack Sparrow.
Johnny Depp.
Oh, Johnny Depp.
Yeah, he could be batshit crazy.
I don't mean batshit crazy just because he was batshit crazy in real life. I mean like a character that's batshit crazy. Gary Oldman's not batshit crazy.
No, but if you got somebody already batshit crazy, he can act batshit crazy even more. Come on now.
I say, well, you want a good actor who could play batshit crazy, you get Robert Downey Jr. as the villain in the film.
Oh, yeah. Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton would be a good villain in the film.
Ben Kingsley.
Ben Kingsley. He does any movie you hand him anyway. John Malkovich.
Yes. But he can also almost get an Oscar for every fucking movie he does too.
I don't know. Have you ever seen Thunderbirds?
I said almost.
Leon the Professional Part 2. Her name, what was her name in the film? I think it was Matilda.
Matilda.
So it'd be Matilda the Professional. I guess we call the second one. Kevin, what's your third one?
My third one was joked about at the not the Golden Globes, the Academy Awards, when Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito came out to present, and their biggest connection, the biggest reference they made was towards Batman, which I loved. But they were in Twins together, and it would be interesting to see a Twins reunion. We call this quadruplets, and see how their family is. Moved on,
So I don't know how much truth there is to this, but I had read a while ago that there was a sequel in the work. I don't know if it's in the works now or something they were talking about a while back, but they had a sequel idea for the movie called Triplets. And you would find out that the third brother was black.
Oh, yeah.
So it'd be Danny DeVito, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and just for
Chris Rock.
Giggles. Well,
no. Who was
I was
the
gonna
guy
say
from Predator and Commando?
Oh, Carl Weathers.
Carl Weathers.
I was gonna say Eddie Murphy. It'd be like the third brother. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but I remember reading that. Again, it was the internet, so who knows?
Damon Wayans.
Was there? I'm looking it up now. Was there a sequel for Twins? Let's see what this brings me up. Triplets. What happened to Twins 2? Unfortunately, Schwarzenegger has confirmed that the project is dead in the water, and he's not afraid to point us in the direction of who to blame. Schwarzenegger was speaking with the Hollywood Reporter in anticipation of his Netflix series when they asked him the question about a sequel to the movie Twins. So they were planning it, and it didn't happen. And it looks like the third twin was definitely going to be a black actor, and it was somewhere between Eddie Murphy and Tracy Morgan as the third brother.
I would have liked to seen Eddie Murphy. I can't stand Tracy Morgan.
I think, Eddie Murphy is also closer in age to Danny DeVito and Schwarzenegger, so I think that would have been really funny.
Yeah.
That would have been great. Although it leaves a little bit of a plot hole because they do show you them as babies, and you only see the two. So they'd somehow have to retroactively.
They could retroact it in a pretty insensitive way.
Have the black baby off to the side being
chastised and kept out,
No, they also have to explain how that happened because they artificially inseminated her, and she gave birth to a giant and a midget. How did she give birth to a black guy?
Well, she didn't know about them both, did she? I mean, she didn't know.
Maybe it was a giant midget black guy.
All right. We're not talking about my bachelor party. Let's move on. Mike's fourth one also made me jealous that I didn't think of this one either.
Yeah, but you're next.
I'm next. I know. I'm next. I skipped myself. I'm looking at Mike and Kevin's list, and I'm like, there are two things on there I wish I had chosen. But my fourth pick is another John Carpenter film, Big Trouble in Little China. Again, a film that was set up to have a sequel. Because as Jack Burton, played by Kurt Russell, is driving away at the end of the film, there's a monster in the back of his truck, and it freeze frames on that at the end of the film. But again,
that become Escape from New York?
No,
Escape from New York came first.
Oh.
And then it was supposed to have a sequel, but again, it's another film that didn't do well enough at the box office for the studios to go ahead and film a second one.
It really picked up when it went to Homebox and Cinemax and stuff. When it went down to the cable stations.
Yeah, it was a rental store hit. It was a movie got rented a lot. So, and it became a cult hit. And then instead of a sequel, there's been talks of a reboot for like a decade now, with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson attached to it to play Jack Burton.
No, thank you.
A reboot that I hope never happens, because The Rock can't be beat up or lose in his films, and that's not what the Jack Burton character is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the Jack Burton character thinks he's the hero, but he's not. You know, like he foibles his way into victory in most cases. And I would like to have seen a little bit more of that, because I love Kurt Russell, and I think he's like John Carpenter's muse. And I would like to see him go back to Chinatown for one more round with him and Wang. So getting back to my jealousy of Mike's list, what's Mike's fourth one?
My fourth one is Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, because you just don't have an adventuring group that does one adventure in Dungeons and Dragons. You do multiple adventures. Come on,
side
now.
quests.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, it's perfectly set up for a sequel.
It is. But I read somewhere they're not going to do one.
Nope, I read that too. And again, it's the studio not wanting to film it because in their mind it didn't make enough money to warrant it. And I feel like that's like not a good excuse anymore, because the box office is so different since COVID.
There's so little box office nowadays. I mean, they're closing left and right.
Yeah, like most people wait for it to come out on video, or they watch it streaming, or they rent it while it's in the theater. And you got to change your view of how the box office works. And I think this film had enough of a following and was enough of a critical success.
Especially since the other Dungeons and Dragons films were all so terrible prior to this.
Like, this one was fun. This one had it knew what Dungeons and Dragons was.
Had the monsters right. Yeah.
Yeah. Chris Pine was awesome in it. Michelle Rodriguez is great in it. Hugh Grant made a great villain in the film. Yeah. I definitely was jealous when I saw this one, because I said this is one I would like to see a sequel to. And that brings us to Kevin's last film.
Now, this sequel was mentioned a while back, but nothing came of it. There was no fruition.
It was mentioned in the film.
It was mentioned in the film. The sequel would have been called Spaceballs: The Quest for More Money.
We'll meet again in the sequel, Spaceballs.
And when you think that it was,
or would it be the Spaceball Strike Back?
I have a T-shirt that says Spaceballs: The Schwartz Awakens on it.
So I did read an article recently that with the sequels and prequels and everything else, it's kind of like lending itself to a whole nother spoof, a whole nother parody of what Star Wars has become, and that it may actually happen.
I don't know if it'll be great, it'll be good or not, because for the longest time I was hoping for a History of the World Part 2 after the little teaser trailers they give you at the end of the first film. Mm-hmm. And then Hulu went and did a History of the World Part 2 series. Mm-hmm. And it was terrible because the jokes were so tame. It was so restrained and held back because they didn't want to offend anybody. Like what made the first History of the World Part 2 or Part 1 funny was that it was, it had some offensive moments, but they were funny.
That's why I stayed away from all of Mel Brooks films for sequels, because they couldn't do them to even do a sequel today, because they would have to be so.
And Mel Brooks was a producer on the series, but he didn't have anything to do with the writing. And that's
when you think of the content of Spaceballs, though, there were very few occasions where it lent itself to being racist or anti-Semitic or anything of that nature,
Well, it's not anti-Semitic. I mean, there's jokes at the expense of Jewish people, but Mel Brooks himself is Jewish. He's making fun of his own heritage,
right?
Like when they call her the Jewish princess and all that,
right? If they kept to just the parody stuff, just the stuff that was a little, outlandish. The plot holes and a whole thing on how he hates sand. It's coarse and it gets everywhere. I could see.
You don't have to do a parody. George Lucas does a great job of himself in the prequels.
I could see the guy who had the comb, in Comb the Desert, sitting somewhere talking about how he hates sand. It's coarse and it gets everywhere.
We ain't found shit.
We didn't find shit.
I feel like a joke though, like the assholes wouldn't get.
It wouldn't get
either. I don't know. I just feel like it'd be too tame. I don't want tame in my Bell Brooks parodies. So I have one more. This will be the last one. Mike and Kev had 4 on their list. I had 5. Mine lends itself to a sequel because there already are sequels if you've read the book series. So this is my movie as well as my book recommendation for this evening, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I really like the film adaptation of it. I liked it because Douglas Adams, the author of the book, had a lot to say in writing the screenplay. A lot of the major changes from the novel were changes that he added to it to make it work on film. I thought the actors were great. Like most stuff is amazing in it. I thought Alan Rickman's voice as the robot's great. Even the brief cameo from Malkovich in the film is fun. And they end it with the name of the second book at the end of the film. He's like, I know a great restaurant at the end of the universe. And that's book 2, the restaurant at the end of the universe. And so you had potential for 5 sequels there. Because there would be The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is the first book. Restaurant at the End of the Universe, which is the second book. The third book is Don't Panic. The fourth book is So Long and Thanks for All the Fish. And then the 5th book is called The Salmon of Truth. And you had a perfect lineup of 5 films there that they could have completed it with. People would have been upset though because you still never find out the meaning of 42 after all 5 books. But
you know what? It's how they think about it. These studios. They had the perfect trilogy to come back for Star Wars, and they made this flop bullshit.
I know.
Instead of Heir to the Empire.
Well, again, it's another thing. Hitchhiker's Guide didn't do well at the box office. It did better when it went to video and streaming and became sort of a cult movie. But because the box office numbers weren't what they wanted it to be, they were like, oh, no sequel. Which sucks. Because
they get sequels for some dumb shit that does well at the box office.
Well, we can talk about that at another time because I think movies that didn't deserve sequels but got them is a totally different subject. And we can do that at a different time. But I did read something today that Dave Filoni is in pre-production on another series of Star Wars films, and it is tentatively titled Heir to the Empire, which was the name of the trilogy that Timothy Zahn wrote in the 90s that follows Thrawn and the last remnants of the Empire after Return of the Jedi.
But isn't that the Ahsoka series?
But I don't know. So maybe they're doing sort of reboot, or maybe they're doing something that's going to tie it in and bring what they've put together into like a new canon or something. But if Dave Filoni's behind it, I'm excited.
Yeah. You're on board.
I'm
definitely on board.
I'm not on board for Kathleen Kennedy, which is why The Acolyte has me worried because she's the runner on that. So we'll see what happens. As a little bonus here, I have some movies that I feel should never have sequels because they end it perfectly and have no need for follow-up. And in my opinion, these movies are The Shawshank Redemption, the Hug on the Beach between Andy and Red, perfect ending. The Princess Bride does not need a sequel. Because how many times can Fred Savage get sick? You have to come redo him. Goonies, even though they've been talking about a sequel for 30 years now, I don't want a sequel to it. I want it to end the way it ended and be happy with it.
But we never find out about the octopus.
I know, right? It's in the Cyndi Lauper song now. Pulp Fiction. I couldn't imagine a sequel to this, but Tarantino is not known for sequels other than like the Kill Bill franchise, so I'm not too worried about it.
But you never find out what's in the briefcase.
I know you never do. even Quentin doesn't know. Forrest Gump.
He did enough.
How many more things can he be a part of? And I am not big enough fan of the first movie myself anyway to even want a sequel. And The Sixth Sense.
Well, he's dead already.
Well, no, but they could have like brought Haley Joel Osment back and had him like ghost whispering more in the second film, and I'm like, we don't need to go beyond that. It ended perfectly.
Right.
So that was just my
Because
idea.
the movie really wasn't about him. It was about
Yeah, it was about Bruce Willis coming to terms with his death and all that stuff.
Another thing.
Spoiler
my
alert:
mama
Bruce Willis
always-
was dead in that film.
Another thing my mama always used to say, but not so often, is "stop the steal," and I had no idea what she meant. Somebody gave that poor orange man a microphone.
Book recommendation, as I said, is The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, especially the first book. But if you are an avid reader, I would go ahead and read all 5 books, which Douglas Adams affectionately refers to as his trilogy. Mike, you have any beer trivia or history for us this evening?
I have a beer history. Egyptian writings on papyrus give an account of a person being overly inebriated on beer during the time of Seti around 1300 BCE. Historians speculate that the beer made during this time had to be consumed quickly before it lost its natural carbonation. So perhaps this person's tipsiness was justified.
Got to save the beer before it goes bad.
Exactly.
All right. So before we get to the closing segment of the episode, last week I gave a hypothetical question out, and I posted it on some of our socials, and I mentioned it on the show. And I was curious to see what people out there had to say. So I copied down some of the answers that I received and put them down here in a little shout out segment. So I will shout out the name of the person who gave us the answer, what they said, and where they responded to on the socials. What was the greatest decade for cinema? So decade meaning 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, etc., going all the way back to the beginning of film in the 1870s, whatever you thought it might be. Somebody named Kevin on Instagram said the 90s, but didn't give us an explanation.
No. Loser.
So here are some of the shout outs.
Pretty, not the smarts.
Here is some of the shout outs we got. Stellar Future Radio at SFR_OC on Twitter/X said the 1940s come to mind first. Italian neorealism, film noir, Citizen Kane, Casablanca, It's a Wonderful Life. The list goes on and on. I can't disagree with that because you know how much I love It's a Wonderful Life. Clintus Maximus on Reddit said it's not even close. The 80s. The only reason he needed it's not even close. Deadstone 16 on Reddit said, "Hey, Jake here, host of the Best and Worst podcast, Best and Worst Pictures podcast. After watching about half of the existing Best Pictures, there's no doubt in my mind the 1970s. Jaws, The Godfather 1 and 2, Network, Dog Day Afternoon, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Clockwork Orange, Taxi Driver, and of course the original Star Wars, Rocky, and Halloween movies that started massive series still going on to this day. Absolutely legendary years for cinema." Hard to argue that. I said that.
Hard to argue that, yeah.
Yeah, when I posted the question, I said, I love to say the 80s because so many of my favorite films are from the 80s. I would love to say the 70s because so many fantastic classics are from the 70s. And I'd like to say the 90s because that's when I, did most of my movie watching growing up. But it's hard to choose just one. Okay, Erasmataz 7160 on Reddit said, I love the 1970s personally. It was before most films were overly corporatized and before the blockbuster film existed, but after resources / equipment were more widely available. Also, color. Animated movies during this period were insane. I also love how it opened world cinema outside of the U.S. Movies from France, India, UK, Czech, Russia, etc. Take on the World podcast on Facebook cheated a little bit. Their decade was 1978 to 1990.
Wow.
That's a
12
12-year
years.
period spanning 3 decades.
It's a baker's decade.
All the great horror and not so great but classic horror movies from that decade that will never be matched. The franchises born in those years are still a staple of our society and of entertainment. The Friends Talking Nerdy podcast on Facebook said, for me, the 90s, you saw some of the best popcorn movies ever made, like T2, The Matrix, while also having great films like Pulp Fiction and Good Will Hunting. A great decade for variety. Not to mention my favorite movie of all time came out in that decade, The Shawshank Redemption. Brazilla on Reddit said, I do a Gen X podcast, so I'm going with the 80s. We go back and forth on the year, but 83 and 84 are pretty incredible. I mean, 84 is the year of Ghostbusters, so I'm not going to argue with that.
Yeah.
And the following were all Reddit responses. Boris the Hangman said he's from the 99% Invisible podcast, discussed the importance of the large movie theater explosion in the 90s that helped an era make many films that are no longer fit into a sensible budget. He's talking about like the boom of the independent films at that time.
Right.
Personally, the 70s and 80s were great. The Godfather trilogy, The Sting, Jaws, Star Wars, Indiana Jones are very memorable in movie history, but the comedies of the 80s bring back my nostalgia. So like me, he chose 3 decades, the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Personally, I'd say 60s or 70s. As far as film history is concerned, the amount of movements and rapid changes in those 2 decades makes it for me. That was the Hero Cats Mans on Reddit. Pedge Tattoo on Reddit, 2010 to 2020. All the CGI and great scripted films came out. I can see Mike shaking his head.
No, because I think they rely too heavy on that CGI.
Yeah, all the CGI immediately make me think that this is a young guy.
I'd rather see some practical effects.
I was gonna say, yeah,
things look, especially like fantasy and sci-fi. You need the CGI to make it look more real, aliens and stuff. But you need more practical effects in movies nowadays than what we've had.
You need a good mix of the two. So like Jurassic Park,
you need a
Lord of the Rings
Christopher
series.
Nolan director.
Yeah, you need a little good mix of the two. So
Yes.
Pedge Tattoo, I don't know how old you are, my friend, but check out some early films and the practical effects. Check out things like Aliens, the original Terminator, movies like that to see like what you can actually do with some practical effects and how realistic it can be.
But we do enjoy your reaching out, so thank you.
Yeah, we do appreciate the response. And Dumpty Doodle on Reddit says the 1970s, the new Hollywood movement. No question about it for me. So nobody went with the 1890s. Nobody went with the early 1900s.
Oh,
and the
that
silent film
Edison.
movement.
I mean, like,
when Buster Keaton
I would
and
say
Charlie Chaplin got together.
I'm biased because I grew up watching 80s movies.
Yeah.
But I see where they get the 70s from, because a lot of the stuff that came out in the 80s are sequels to the 70s movies, or come from there. And 90s movies are 90s movies.
I got nothing against 90 movies, my friend.
They gave us
great films
Park,
in the 90s.
They gave us Shawshank Redemption.
7.
Tons of great things. 7.
Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah.
Yeah. That Three Musketeers movie that Kevin introduced us to last week came out in the 90s.
Right.
Kevin, I was telling Mike this the other day. I watched it.
You tried to watch it.
The free version of the film that's available on YouTube, The Ring of the Musketeers, has a young Arabic man translating over the soundtrack for every single character in the film. So it was a little hard to watch. But I was able to watch the 3-minute long music video that David Hasselhoff shot as part of the film. So that was an amazing experience. Movies that deserve a sequel: Ring of the Musketeers.
Ring of the Musketeers.
Hey, everybody. Thank you again for joining us tonight for episode 153. Where's the sequel? We hope you enjoyed listening to the podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it for you. Don't forget, you drop us an email, filmsoffermentation@gmail.com, or visit linktree.com/filmsoffermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links. You can go to Patreon and support us, buy our merchandise, teespring.com. We're on Reddit now, so join the thread. Or go to deluxeeditionnetwork.com to find out more about us and the other podcasts at the Den, especially the podcast of the month, Barstool Film School and Barrel Age Chicks. Don't forget, July 1st, voting will start for the Denny Awards. Your 3 favorite podcast hosts are all nominated for various awards, so please come out and vote. And don't forget to stop by the crossroads between Pickled and Fermented next time around for episode 154. It's the beginning of the summer, at least for me and Kevin, since we're teachers. Mike still has to work. So we're going to celebrate our fortune and Mike's misfortune next time around by looking at some summer movies. And we had talked about our favorite summer films last year. This year, what we're going to do is we're going to look at a list, online list of what's considered the best summer movies of all time, and see if we agree with this list. Do a little critiquing of other people's work for once, and see what they say. So make sure you join us for that episode 154. Once again, I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike. They can take vacation anytime during the year.
So can I. Including the summertime when I don't have to work. This has been the Films and Fermentation Podcast, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.